It's official. Kyler Murray has been traded to the Minnesota Vikings. But what's really shocking isn't just the move itself, it's what Murray has now revealed about his former team, and the details are raising serious questions about what was really going on behind the scenes. For months, NFL fans and media have speculated that the Arizona Cardinals and quarterback Kyler Murray were headed toward divorce. On March 3rd, those theories were proven correct. The expectation became reality in Arizona. The Kyler Murray era is over. The Cardinals informed Murray they are releasing him at the start of the new league year. That is according to NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport, and ESPN's Adam Schefter confirmed the same. Murray cannot officially be released until March 11th, the start of the new league year. Following one season of college football with the Texas A&M Aggies, Murray played for the Oklahoma Sooners, winning the Heisman Trophy in 2018. He was selected first overall by the Cardinals in the 2019 NFL Draft. He was also selected 9th overall by the Oakland Athletics of Major League Baseball in the 2018 Draft, making him the first player drafted in the first round of both sports. Murray came into the NFL with all the hype in the world. The first overall pick of the 2019 Draft, Murray earned Offensive Rookie of the Year, made 2 Pro Bowls, and during the 2021 season, led the Cardinals to a wild-card appearance under former coach Cliff Kingsbury. In those early years, Murray looked like the franchise quarterback Arizona had been searching for since the days of Kurt Warner. In 87 games, Murray threw for 20,460 yards and 121 touchdowns to 60 interceptions, completing 67.1% of his passes while rushing for 3,193 yards and 32 touchdowns. Murray is one of just 4 players in NFL history, alongside Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, and Cam Newton, with 19,000-plus passing yards and 3,000-plus rushing yards in his first 6 seasons. He joined Josh Allen and Cam Newton as the only QBs in NFL history with 100-plus passing TDs and 30-plus rushing TDs in their first 6 seasons. But here's the thing. The production never translated into consistent winning. The Cardinals made it to the playoffs once in Murray's 7 seasons. Murray has a career record of 38-49-1. That is a losing record. And that one playoff appearance in 2021 ended in a blowout. On January 17, 2022, Murray made his NFL postseason debut in the wild card round, losing to the Rams 34-11. Murray struggled throughout the game, throwing for just 137 yards, 2 interceptions, and 0 touchdowns. Then came the injuries. In Week 14 against the New England Patriots on Monday Night Football, Murray suffered a non-contact knee injury in the first quarter. He was carted off the field and did not return. The next day, an MRI revealed that Murray tore his ACL, ending his season. He was placed on injured reserve on December 14, 2022. That torn ACL was the beginning of a stretch of injuries that would derail Murray's time in Arizona. A torn ACL during the 2022 season cost him the remainder of that season and the first half of 2023. That is when Joshua Dobbs started in his place before the Vikings traded for him and unleashed the Pastronaut. Murray bounced back somewhat. Murray then played a full season in 2024, scoring 26 total touchdowns en route to an 8-9 season. But last year, it all fell apart again. A foot injury cost him all but 5 games. Later in the year, the Cardinals opted against reactivating him as they were in the midst of a lost season. In those 5 games, Murray completed 68.3% of his passes for 962 passing yards and 6 touchdowns. That was his entire 2025 output. And the Cardinals chose to roll with Jacoby Brissett instead of bringing Murray back. The organization decided to embarrass Murray in his home state by making it seem he was ready to play on national TV Monday night, but on the day of, switched him to an emergency backup. That moment told you everything about where the relationship stood. And then came the contract issue that made this breakup inevitable. Murray signed a 5-year, $230.5 million extension with the franchise in the 2022 offseason. That extension, famously, included a homework clause that required Murray to study film. The ill-advised homework clause in his second contract drove a wedge that was never going to go away. Now the financial realities sealed the deal. Murray has $36.8 million in fully guaranteed salary this year. And if he's on the Arizona roster on the 3rd day of the league year, another $19.5 million in 2027 salary becomes fully guaranteed. So, the Cardinals will want to move on before that happens, whether that means a trade or a release. In his statement, Murray used the phrase, "I am sorry I failed us," when referring to not ending the franchise's 77-year championship drought. That is where the Arizona chapter ends. But the Minnesota chapter is where things get interesting. To understand why Kyler Murray and the Minnesota Vikings make sense, you have to understand where Minnesota sits right now at the quarterback position. The answer is, in a state of uncertainty. J.J. McCarthy was always going to be facing quarterback competition this season again. He was not good enough for the Minnesota Vikings in 2025 to keep the job for himself. McCarthy was selected 10th overall by the Vikings in the 2024 NFL Draft. After missing his entire rookie year due to injury, McCarthy became the starter in his second season. The injury that cost him his rookie year was a meniscus tear in the first preseason game against the Las Vegas Raiders. He did not play a single regular season snap in 2024, so 2025 was supposed to be the year. The Vikings had let Sam Darnold walk after his career-best season, banking on McCarthy to take the reins. The two pressing questions for the quarterback position were, will the Vikings re-sign Sam Darnold, and will the car keys go to McCarthy? The first answer was there was an offer to bring Darnold back, but he opted for what he believed was a better opportunity with Seattle. The second answer was, yes, the season started well enough. McCarthy made his NFL debut in the season opener against the division rival Chicago Bears and led the Vikings back from an 11-point fourth-quarter deficit by throwing for 2 touchdowns and rushing for a third to win on the road 27-24. McCarthy became the first quarterback in NFL history to score 3 fourth-quarter touchdowns in his NFL debut. But then injuries hit. In the next game against the Atlanta Falcons, he threw for 158 yards and 2 interceptions during the 22-6 loss. Following the game, it was revealed that McCarthy suffered a high ankle sprain, causing him to miss the next 5 games. Carson Wentz, who had joined the Vikings just before the regular season, wound up making 5 starts for the team he grew up rooting for. The Vikings went 2-3 in those contests. When McCarthy returned, it was a roller coaster. There were ups and downs over the course of the 2025 season, featuring multiple flashes of the reasons Minnesota selected McCarthy with the 10th overall pick of 2024, as well as challenging learning opportunities. The numbers tell the story clearly. J.J. McCarthy had a passer rating of 72.6 with 1,632 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions in 10 games. McCarthy played 10 games last season and 10 games over his career. He had 1,632 passing yards last season and 1,632 passing yards over his career. A 72.6 passer rating with more interceptions than touchdowns is not going to cut it, especially not for a team with Super Bowl aspirations. And that is the core issue here. Minnesota has a playoff-caliber roster. The team went 9-8 last year despite scoring just 26th in points per game. Minnesota finished over 500 thanks to landing third in fewest yards allowed per play in 2025. The Vikings also benefited from the efforts of first-team All-Pro kicker Will Reichard. Minnesota was a quarterback away from being a legitimate Super Bowl contender in 2025. Instead, they missed the playoffs altogether. Think about that. A roster with Justin Jefferson, a top 3 defense, and a Pro Bowl kicker missed the playoffs because the quarterback play was not sufficient. The Vikings are not ready to give up on J.J. McCarthy, their 2024 first-round pick who missed his rookie season because of a knee injury and struggled mightily through an injury-riddled second season in 2025. But they also are not ready to hand McCarthy the keys for 2026. Executive Vice President of Football Operations Rob Brzezinski said that the Vikings are exploring all possibilities at quarterback. That is front office speak for. We need help. The brief J.J. McCarthy experiment underscored how narrow championship windows are. A roster built to contend cannot wait on development curves. The Vikings have Justin Jefferson in his prime. They have a defense that carried them to 9 wins, despite bottom-tier offense. The clock is ticking on this window. They made a mistake drafting and deciding to go all in on J.J. McCarthy as their starter. With a Super Bowl-caliber defense and a loaded offense outside of the quarterback, they need to be trying to win now, because championship windows generally don't last long. Even if they want to hold on to McCarthy and try to develop him as a backup, this team desperately needs a serviceable starter who can help them compete for a Super Bowl. So the stage is set. Minnesota needs a quarterback, and Kyler Murray just became available. But how real is this connection? Here is where the smoke starts turning into fire. The links between Kyler Murray and the Minnesota Vikings have been piling up for months now, and the recent developments have only intensified the conversation. The Vikings have been linked to Murray since late in the 2025 season, amid concerns about their starting quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. Despite the team winning its last 4 games and McCarthy improving down the stretch, Minnesota always intended to bring in competition, and Murray could be that guy. Let us start with what the insiders are saying. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reported in February that every quarterback likely to hit free agency find himself on the trade block or otherwise end up available. Had the Vikings at the top of their list of destinations. Think about that for a second. Every available quarterback in the league wants to play for Minnesota. That tells you something about what the Vikings have built around the quarterback position. Now look at the social media side. Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson dropped a significant hint on the team's plans at QB by following Kyler Murray on Instagram. Justin Jefferson and Kyler Murray appear to have recently followed each other on Instagram, as rumors swirl around the Vikings going after the Cardinals' now former quarterback. In the NFL, these kinds of social media moves are rarely accidental. When a four-time Pro Bowl receiver starts following a quarterback who is about to become a free agent, that means something. Murray reportedly already has a top potential destination in mind, which easily could be Minnesota. And the details from ESPN back this up even further. Getting released was Murray's preferred outcome from his time in Arizona, a source told ESPN. With him hitting the open market next week, Murray has two teams he prefers to join, the source said. Regarding the two teams, one cannot help but wonder if those are the Vikings and the Pittsburgh Steelers. ESPN's Kevin Seifert provided even more context. He noted that Minnesota is not necessarily looking to supplant McCarthy as a starter, but it also hasn't ruled out adding a newcomer who could walk into the building as an unquestioned starter. That puts Murray at, or near, the top of the Vikings list. He will almost certainly have interest, knowing how his career would be impacted even by just one season of playing with receiver Justin Jefferson. And under coach Kevin O'Connell, that last point is significant. Think about what Kevin O'Connell has done with quarterbacks in Minnesota. Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell has proven that he can get the most out of quarterbacks, and was the coach who helped Sam Darnold turn his career around. Remember, Sam Darnold went to Minnesota and had the best season of his career. He went from being considered a bust with the Jets and Panthers to a Pro Bowl quarterback. Murray has shown significantly more upside and potential than Darnold did. Before heading to Minnesota, veterans have fared well in Kevin O'Connell's offense, and anticipating Murray to have a career revival along the lines of Sam Darnold is not too far-fetched. If O'Connell could take Sam Darnold and turn him into a 4,000-yard, 35-touchdown passer, imagine what he could do with a former first overall pick, who has a Heisman Trophy, 2 Pro Bowl selections, and dual threat ability that Darnold never had. Now, there is the fit question. It would be a massive departure from Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell and the type of quarterback he likes to have in his offense. O'Connell has been more about pocket passers who are accurate and work with what the defense gives them in coverage. Murray has that athletic ability to move around in the pocket wherever he needs to. There are times, though, when he has to run because his 5'10" height makes it tough to see over the towering linemen in front of him. Some fans have questioned Murray's scheme fit within O'Connell's system. He is not elite by the numbers throwing over the middle. But here is the counter. O'Connell is a good coach. Good coaches adapt to their players. They do not force a square peg into a round hole. Murray, at his best, stresses defenses horizontally and vertically. Pair that with Justin Jefferson, the league's most precise route technician, and you create a big problem for defensive coordinators. Murray's passer rating against pressure has historically hovered near league average. Not elite, but stable. Minnesota's QB protection has been better than Arizona's, and will give Murray more of an opportunity to run the offense with his style of play. And there is one more voice in this conversation. Dan Orlovsky of ESPN weighed in with an interesting take. He said on NFL Live, "I like Kyler in Minnesota. I don't love Kyler in Minnesota." His reasoning was about stylistic fit. He said, "Stylistically, I'd probably tell you give me Geno over Kyler." Smith, who is listed as 5 inches taller than Murray, would seem to be a better fit for the Vikings offense in terms of playing from the pocket and making intermediate throws over the middle of the field. But here is the thing. Orlovsky acknowledged that Murray brings something Geno Smith does not. He brings a ceiling that most available quarterbacks cannot match. And when you have a roster built to win now, you chase the ceiling. This is the part that makes the Kyler Murray situation so unique. The money. The financials of this move are unlike anything we typically see in the NFL, and they may be the single biggest factor pushing Murray toward Minnesota. NFL media's Ian Rappaport reported on Tuesday that the Arizona Cardinals have informed quarterback Kyler Murray that he is going to be released from the team. Murray is still guaranteed $36.8 million by the organization in 2026, as he will play this season under the $1.3 million minimum. Let me break that down so it is clear. The Cardinals owe Murray $36.8 million in 2026. That money is guaranteed. He gets it no matter what. When he signs with a new team, any money on the new deal will be subtracted from that sum. That is why he is expected to sign a veteran minimum deal to save his new franchise as much money as possible. In his case, with 7 seasons under his belt, Murray's minimum deal is worth $1.3 million. So the Cardinals pay Murray $35.5 million. His new team pays $1.3 million. Murray still gets his $36.8 million total. Murray would still have massive financial security for 2026, with maximum flexibility for 2027, with the Cardinals entitled to a dollar-for-dollar offset. The fewer dollars Murray takes, the more cap dollars his new team will have. This is what makes the Murray situation so different from other free agent quarterbacks on the market. The Vikings could, in theory, explore Malik Willis from free agency, but his price tag could tip the scales over $30 million per season. Therefore, Minnesota could have Willis for $32 million or Murray for $1 million. Which would you choose? That question answers itself. You get a former number 1 overall pick, a 2-time Pro Bowler, a Heisman Trophy winner, and a dual-threat quarterback for the veteran minimum. The financial math does not work like this in the NFL. It is an anomaly. That salary negates concerns about size, scheme fit, durability, or even the infamous Call of Duty narrative. At $1.3 million, the risk is minimal. If Murray does not work out, you are not strapped to a massive contract. You move on. If Murray does work out, you have a franchise-level quarterback on a deal that costs less than most backup quarterbacks in the league. Murray is arguably the safest choice because he is still 28, with plenty of years left in him, and has won at a high level. At the same time, the Vikings paying the minimum for him would be perfect, as they are under the salary cap. Now, the Cardinals are taking a financial hit to make this happen. Cutting Murray pre-June 1st would see Arizona eat $54.7 million in dead cap space. It would appear that the Cardinals will make Murray a post-June 1st designation, which will delay cap relief. Either way, Arizona is absorbing a massive dead cap charge to move on from Murray. The reason the Cardinals could not even trade Murray is telling. Odds favor a release because it is unlikely a team will offer Arizona anything significant in a trade if it has to pay Murray that much guaranteed money over the next 2 years. ESPN insiders gave Murray just a 5% chance of being traded to any NFL club. Former NFL player Booger McFarland summed it up on ESPN. He said, "Realistically, I don't think anybody's going to trade for Kyler Murray. He's gotten to a point right now where when you look at him as a 5'10" maybe quarterback who struggled throwing from the pocket, yeah, he's athletic, but he's been hurt. I just think the market for him to go to another team is going to be small." But here is where it gets interesting. The trade market being small actually benefits the Vikings. Because Murray is hitting free agency instead of being traded, Minnesota does not have to give up any draft picks. Some Vikings fans warned against a trade for Murray, suggesting draft picks were not worth the squeeze. That concern is now moot. Murray can be obtained for free. A release would let Minnesota pursue Murray while keeping draft capital intact for roster upgrades elsewhere. There are other teams in the picture. The New York Jets were mentioned as a possible destination for Murray at the scouting combine. NBC Sports' Matthew Berry said, "I really wouldn't be surprised to see him on the Jets." That's one that I keep hearing a decent amount. The Falcons and Steelers have also been connected to the conversation. The price could be right on a 1-year deal for the Vikings, Falcons, or any other team looking for a new starter. But the Vikings check every box. They have the roster, they have the coach, they have the cap space, and they have Justin Jefferson. The financial piece just makes it that much more of a no-brainer for both sides. Murray in Minneapolis almost feels inevitable at this point. But there is a lot that could still change in the next week. If he had his choice, he would be chucking it down the field to Justin Jefferson in 2026. So we have arrived at the final question. Has Kyler Murray officially been traded to the Minnesota Vikings? The answer, as of right now, is no. Murray has not been traded. He has not even been formally released yet. The Arizona Cardinals plan to release quarterback Kyler Murray. Murray cannot officially be released until March 11th, the start of the new league year. We will see where Murray lands soon enough with free agency beginning on March 11th, but Minnesota seems like a real possibility. But the reason this story has generated so much buzz is because the signs are all pointing in one direction. Let us line up everything we know. The Vikings need a quarterback upgrade. The Vikings might be the biggest combination of need and upside. Murray has reportedly narrowed his preferences to 2 teams, and multiple reporters have indicated Minnesota is on that list. Justin Jefferson and Murray are following each other on social media. The financial structure of the deal means the Vikings could get Murray for just $1.3 million. And Kevin O'Connell has a track record of getting the best out of veteran quarterbacks. From the moment McCarthy appeared injury-prone and inconsistent, and knowing that O'Connell faced win-now stakes in 2026, Vikings territory has repeatedly said all roads lead to Kyler Murray. But there are still questions that need to be answered before this becomes official. First, what happens with J.J. McCarthy? McCarthy's future is up in the air, as he is most likely going to stick around in year 3 and battle with whoever the Vikings bring in as competition. Bringing in a veteran quarterback who has had some success in the league could be what the Vikings need to get McCarthy's attention. It would remind him about the parts of his game he still needs to work on and get him back on track to where Minnesota can hopefully harness his talent and build him into the franchise QB it thought he was when it drafted him. There is a question about whether adding Murray would essentially signal the end of McCarthy as the franchise quarterback, or whether it is genuine competition. ESPN's Kevin Seifert continued, The question is whether the Vikings are truly ready to send McCarthy back to the bench after only 10 starts since they made him the 10th pick of the 2024 draft. As O'Connell enters his 5th season with the team, none of which has included a playoff win, it has to be a consideration. O'Connell is entering year 5 without a playoff win. That is a fact. The pressure is on him to produce results, and the organization clearly believes the quarterback position is what has held them back. This is not a rebuilding roster. In 2025, the Vikings had one of the most expensive and talented rosters in football. Second, there is the question of Murray's health. In recent years, injuries have slowed him down. A torn ACL during the 2022 season cost him the remainder of that season and the first half of 2023. Then it was the foot injury in 2025 that limited him to 5 games. Can Murray stay healthy for a full season? That is an open question, but at $1.3 million, the Vikings can afford to take that chance. Third, there is the character question. The Vikings must decide if Murray's so-called aloof attitude is a legitimate character defect or a product of the Cardinals' culture. The NFLPA leaked the annual report cards last week, and Arizona's ownership received an F grade. That matters. How much of the difficult label on Murray is about Murray, and how much is about playing for an organization that the players themselves rated at the bottom of the league? The separation between Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals feels less like a breakup and more like an overdue reset. Injuries, roster instability, and coaching turnover dulled what was once an MVP-caliber trajectory. Throughout his career, Murray has never had a top 10 defense. In Minnesota, he would have one of the best defenses in football. He would have Justin Jefferson. He would have a coach who has revived the careers of multiple quarterbacks. Now Murray offers immediacy, a 28-year-old with playoff experience and something to prove. That is the kind of motivation you want in a quarterback. He is a guy who put out a statement saying he failed his old organization. That sounds like a person who is ready to prove the world wrong. The Vikings also have other options. Minnesota will have other options in free agency, as they can still go after Aaron Rodgers, who was a popular name for them last offseason. Anthony Richardson has been another consideration for the Vikings. Kyler Murray and Geno Smith are strong considerations for Vikings at QB, with Tua Tagovailoa and Kirk Cousins on the radar as well. But none of those options combine Murray's age, upside, price point, and motivation. That makes the 2-time Pro Bowler a prime candidate for the Vikings, given that several of their other options are long-in-the-tooth veterans, like Kirk Cousins or Geno Smith, who likely do not profile inside Minnesota's front office as long-term starting alternatives to McCarthy. The Tua Tagovailoa option has its own complications. Another possible release candidate, Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, might make sense, but he called Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores a terrible person in an interview a year and a half ago, as the pair had a frosty relationship in Miami when Flores was his head coach. That alone probably takes Tua off the board for Minnesota. While league sources are split on how many more strong years Murray has in the NFL, they overwhelmingly believe his health and motivation will position him well for 2026, and his resume is deeper than that of previously top available free agent Malik Willis. So where does that leave us? The title of this video says Kyler Murray has officially been traded to the Minnesota Vikings. That has not happened as of this recording. What has happened is that the Cardinals have confirmed they will release Murray when the new league year begins on March 11th. What has happened is that multiple insiders, reporters, and analysts have pointed to the Vikings as the top destination. What has happened is that Murray himself appears to prefer Minnesota as one of his top choices. What has happened is that the financial structure of this move makes it one of the most affordable quarterback upgrades in recent NFL history. Simply put, if the Vikings want to get the most out of this team, the best bet may be to bring in a veteran like Murray, who can lead Minnesota to greater heights. The pieces are all there. The fit makes sense on paper. The money makes sense on the books. The timing makes sense given where both sides are in their respective arcs. Murray needs a fresh start with a winning roster. Minnesota needs a quarterback who can unlock the potential of a roster that is built to compete right now. Whether Kyler Murray ends up in Minnesota, Pittsburgh, New York, or somewhere else entirely, one thing is clear. His days in Arizona are over, and the next chapter of his career starts on March 11th. The Vikings are right there at the front of the line, and the football world is watching to see if they make the move that could change the trajectory of both Murray's career and Minnesota's championship aspirations. We will find out very soon. Stay tuned.